Welcome all you ghosts and ghoulies to Conjuring Canvases, the show where spooky art is created and terrifying tales are told. My name is Lern the Conjurer, and I am your host. Our show is inspired by Robert Welsh's Ghost Stories and Makeup Mondays. Check out his channel, especially if he loves creepy stories as well as some awesome makeup. And I get a lot of inspiration from him, so give him a follow, check him out. I'll put the link in the show description below. Today's episode goes to America's one and only, get ready for it, Mothman. Yay! I am just so excited to start breaking into the realm of cryptids and to creatures, and especially one that originated here in America, or at least that's what the common belief is. I am so excited to be talking all about the Mothman and teaching you all about this crazy phenomenon that a lot of people say they still see today. So of course, since we're doing the Mothman, I decided to dress in my realm of Mothmanisms. I don't know. I tried. I put together a nice little boa collar here. I have a monarch butterfly cape on right now because why not? I have little moths in my hair. I'm really committed today. Now you're probably wondering, why are you wearing monarch butterfly wings, Lern, when he's a moth? He's a Mothman, right? You're so funny. And if nothing else, my makeup looks just like Mae West, and you know, honestly, I'm really not mad about it. As usual, ghosts and ghoulies, if you want to check out my entire look, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Conjuring Canvases. I want to let everyone know the disclaimer of the show. I am not an expert in anything I'm talking about, nor am I an expert in art. I really am just doing this for fun and doing it all for the spooky, and I have a feeling that you really like the ooky and creepy stuff too. So hopefully you enjoy what I put together today, and we have fun while we learn all about the Mothman. Oh, and how in the world can I forget? Just one moment. Everyone say, "Hi, Zed."
Why all the feathers?
Well, Zed, we're covering the Mothman today, so I dressed up as my rendition of the Mothman. You know how this goes, Zed.
Of course I do. As the office administrator, I have to know everything that goes on here in the Conjuring Circle.
Speaking of knowing what's going on, Zed, I noticed that yet again, a significant amount of candy has been missing.
No, it hasn't.
Zed, why is it that you smell like Laffy Taffy and Nerds?
Nothing, I just always smell like this.
Zed! You're right on my shoulder, I could smell that!
What? I didn't do anything?
Zed, you burped and you just did it again.
No, I didn't.
Stop it! You're embarrassing me in front of all of the ghosts and ghoulies.
I'm sorry, you think I'm embarrassing?
Okay, Zed, I'm gonna have to put you back in the candy basket because I can't have this happening the entirety of the show.
Oh yes, candy.
Okay, I have had enough of you.
Wait! Before I go, I want to remind everyone that if you have a creepy story to go ahead and share with us, email us or leave it in the comments. You can email us at conjuringcanvases@gmail.com.
Well, thank you, Zed. I'm surprised about your professionalism and the fact that you didn't burp.
I'm always professional.
Okay, that's it. Everybody say bye, Zed.
Bye, everyone. Kitty.
Back to the regular order of business. As you can see, another painting has joined our family in the background. Now we have the Hat Man, Bloody Mary, and our Vampire Queen. I appreciate all the support that our show has been getting so far. And of course, please remember to like and subscribe, comment on the video, let us know what you're thinking, give us your feedback, because we want to make sure that the show is awesome just for you. If you'd like to support the show further, you can check out our Etsy store. Search Etsy at Conjuring Canvases to find all of our paintings and a few extra little fun things that I like to create. As always, before we begin the episode, I like to shout out a really cool, spooky, creepy thing. Sometimes it's witchy, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's ghoulish. Either way, I think that you'll like it too. Today's spooky shout out goes to Queenly Conjure. They are a Black-owned business that is based in New Orleans, Louisiana. They make beautiful, ornate pieces that have all to do with your own witchy side. So if you're a little bit witchy like me, feel free to check them out. They have a wonderful website as well as a fantastic Instagram. Search them at Queenly Conjure. All right, I think it's time to get started. I got the paints laid out, so let me go ahead and teach you a little bit about the Mothman. Mothman was first documented back in the 1960s in a town called Point Pleasant in West Virginia. Now, the Mothman, of course, has also been spotted numerous times since then, but has obviously originated from the town of Point Pleasant. Some people say that the Mothman is America's own myth, and that's because before then, I don't really know if Bigfoot was as popular. I think Bigfoot probably got popular right after Mothman because, of course, people were gripped with the idea of cryptids or strange creatures that prowled their woods at night. Mothman, sadly, has been looked at as a negative entity. Some people look at him as a harbinger of death or destruction to come, so kind of like a bad omen. People also think that the Mothman is an extraterrestrial, an alien, but some people also believe that the Mothman may be tied to the real Men in Black. Not Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, but the Men in Black, which might be a future episode too. Why do people feel Mothman is all of these things? Well, I'll give you a little bit of an origin story. According to local myth, there was a Native American chief who was dubbed Chief Cornstalk. Do I think that that was actually his name? No, I just think white people are going to be white people. Chief Cornstalk was horrendously murdered by the first English settlers that came to America in 1777. It was said that Chief Cornstalk made a curse upon the town of Point Pleasant that would last for 200 years. However, the details of this curse I couldn't quite find out. Perhaps I could find more of this lore and as well as more confirmed details through a rabbit hole that I could go down in the internet. I mean, if you've ever searched for the Mothman, you will discover that there is several links and several resources out there that tell you all about who he was. But how did he first originate? Well, in the 1960s, in Point Pleasant, all of a sudden, the entire town started to report strange happenings, specifically in 1966. It started out where, on a cold November night, a group of men were digging a grave at one of the local cemeteries when all of a sudden they claimed to have seen a strange figure off into the distance. When he stood, he was over 6 to 7 feet, or at least that's what they claimed. And they also claimed that this strange figure had huge wings that dragged on the ground behind him. They couldn't quite get a good look at him, but the one thing that they could remember was that the strange being had these large, insane-looking glowing eyes. That was the first account. The funny thing is, though, is that these men did not report it to anyone. They just kind of kept it to themselves. Maybe because they were afraid of being called crazy. But it was only a couple of weeks after that two couples were driving down one of the local roads when they claimed that they saw the same exact creature. They couldn't get a good look at it at first because it was so dark. But all of a sudden, as they were driving, they noticed that the creature began to fly into the air. Not only that, but the creature started flying towards them. Now, of course, the two couples, they were in their car, so they began to drive down the road in order to get away from it. They said that they were driving upwards of speeds of 100 miles an hour, and they still could not lose this creature. This creature kept up with them the entire time, staying onto the side of their car and not letting them go. So pretty terrifying, if you could imagine that. Being out in the middle of nowhere when it's dark, there's no lights, and all you see is this giant creature. I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking about that. That is crazy. This couple decided that they would go to the police and they would report what they saw. The couples felt that, just like I'm sure the first group of people that claimed to have seen Mothman, they felt like they were going to be looked at like they were crazy too. But the police actually took them seriously and went out to investigate what in the world this was. Even though the police took a statement from these two couples, went out and investigated it, they didn't give any information to the local press. So, in other words, there was no way for the local townspeople to have learned about this strange creature. Coincidentally, right after that, for a 13-month period, sightings continued. people were reporting seeing the same exact thing. This strange, long humanoid creature who had long, giant wings and glowing red eyes. So pretty terrifying when you think about it, that so many people could report seeing this creature. And also report seeing it exactly the same as everyone else without anybody ever putting it out into main media streams back then. It's just very, very interesting. Mothman wasn't the only thing that the people of Point Pleasant were saying that they were seeing and reporting during the times of his visit, is what I will call it. There also was strange paranormal activity, such as people were claiming that poltergeist activity was happening around their homes. People even claimed that they saw the men in black a few times. There were even some people who said that they were driving down the same road that the Mothman was first seen, and they witnessed UFO sightings, all sorts of stuff. So that's a lot of really crazy things to be happening all at once. First, there's a dude who's not really a dude. He's a guy with big wings, and he's got big glowing red eyes, and apparently he can fly more than 100 miles an hour. Then you got ghost activity, got the men in black. You mean to tell me even that you got UFOs? Dang. It's just a whole lot happening all at once. And for a 13-month period of time, this was constant. Now, if you've ever visited Point Pleasant, West Virginia, I have not personally, but what I have heard is that there's really not a lot going on there. It's kind of plain. Like, you know, kind of like a typical backwoodsy town, not really a large town at that, but maybe perhaps that's the reason why so many people claim they saw the same thing, is because small town, everyone knows each other, everyone talks, and who knows, people could have been making things up too, but it is still really odd. Now what I'm doing here is I'm making the background of a wooded area, and it is at nighttime. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue just to lighten it up, because I don't like the stark contrast of the black, seeing as what I want to do is I want to make Mothman black, because that's what people claim that he looked like. Which, I'll go ahead and reiterate, Mothman to people who saw him wasn't an actual moth. You might be wondering, well, why was he called Mothman then? Well, I'll tell you. Around the same time that people were seeing this strange creature that they couldn't make sense of, a certain very popular TV show starring a certain Adam West, getting really popular with people all around the world, hence also West Virginia. And that show, of course, was Batman. Now, I think because of the popularity, people decided to name him Mothman. Even though I don't really think that I would consider him a mothy looking creature. According to sightings and what people say he looks like, people say that Mothman looked like he was a humanoid. So he had like kind of sort of a body of a person, but the biggest differences were that obviously he had these giant pair of wings that folded behind him, dragged on the floor when he wasn't flying. Additionally, he had like weird crooked legs that bent in a weird awkward fashion. He had clawed hands. He almost looked like a little bit of a bat too, according to some people. But most people would say that the Mothman almost looked like a version of an owl, but with no wings. He was just a full, dark, shadowy creature. Very interesting, to say the least. Very, very interesting. It's funny the way that he managed to get the name Mothman when he doesn't really look like a moth, but that's what pop culture does, right? Mentioned several times, the sightings continued for 13 months until on December 15th, 1967, which is an exact year after the very first sighting of the Mothman, tragedy struck. So there was a bridge called the Silver Bridge, and it was a bridge that connected the town of Point Pleasant to another local town, and it was over a river called the Ohio River. Now, of course, it's December 15th, it's very cold, it's snowing, it's icy, and evidently what happened was the bridge all of a sudden gave out and killed 46 people. 2 bodies were never found. Back then, the town never saw anything quite like that before. So people claimed that, ironically, the Mothman sightings, because it had stopped right after the bridge collapse, some people claimed that the Mothman was kind of like a harbinger of what was to come. So like the omen to show people something terrible was going to happen, and it was the bridge collapsing. Others that are more, I would say, neurotic, claim that Mothman's sonic boom of his wings made the bridge collapse. Nobody saw the Mothman after that day in Point Pleasant. At least, not in Point Pleasant. Now there's a little bit of a trick word for you there. So since then, people have claimed to see Mothman all around the world. But before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about what the Mothman inspired for the people of Point Pleasant. Nowadays, and for several years, there have been several businesses local to the town that have really placed a lot of their love and a lot of tourist-grabbing things in the Mothman. If, for instance, there is a Mothman diner, there is a legitimate Mothman museum, and guys, there is a Mothman festival. And I really want to go. It's the thing that brings everybody to Point Pleasant, because before there's really nothing that brings people to Point Pleasant. But it's a festival and it's free. And apparently people go there and they dress up as Mothman, and you can get food that's like themed around Mothman. There's a statue that has been put up in Mothman's name and like kind of looks like, I guess, what people think Mothman looks like. It is a whole thing. I wonder how all the other cryptids feel that they don't have a festival. Like, I don't think Bigfoot has a festival. I don't think the Jersey Devil has a festival. Am I missing anybody? If I was a cryptid, I would be really jealous of the Mothman because he seems like he gets a lot of press. Now, if you're wondering, how can I go to this festival? Well, it just so happens that the festival is held every year, September, October time, and it's like a whole weekend event. As I said, it's free, but sadly, due to terrible circumstances of 2020, I don't believe that festival happened this year for safety reasons. But you know what? My dream is to definitely go to it soon. I hope maybe next year I can go, and if I do, I will do a special episode all about it. Oh, I'm so excited. I knew I bought that GoPro for a reason. Now I'm just mixing in a little bit of brown because I want to make the trees in the back. Of course, like, I'm trying to bring out the light of the moon into the shadow of the trees, so I'm still trying to figure out how I want that done. It's probably gonna look a little funny. Don't make fun of me. Please don't make fun of me. I'm not professional. So yeah, I've been saying this entire time that the Mothman evidently has not just stopped hanging out in West Virginia and then left us forever, right? He didn't like jump into another dimension and said, bye world, never gonna see you again. Though after this year I'd be like, yo, deuces. What a sensible cryptid. He decided that he was gonna show up again. Because evidently, according to my research, people have claimed several conspiracy theories about the Mothman. Not only where he's been, but also the terrible tragedies that he has caused. Not including, obviously, the Silver Bridge. Some of these conspiracies are just downright insane. And, I mean, you know, you go on the internet, again, this whole thing is a rabbit hole of a subject where if you wanted to, you can get lost in just the amount of Mothman information that's on the internet. But the one thing that I've noticed is that, like, they blame him for crazy things. Like, I think the craziest thing I've ever seen is someone claimed that Mothman caused 9/11. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Basically, when it came down to Mothman sightings, they have been evidently really popular in the last 3 years. Because according to my research, the Mothman has been discovered in Chicago, Illinois, of all places. Yes, Chicago, Illinois. And, you know, when I found so many articles talking about it, you're gonna judge me. You guys remember Space Jam? You remember Space Jam, right? Remember? Yeah. Michael Jordan forever. I initially thought when he was seen in Chicago, I was like, is he gonna be the new team that has to go against the Toons? Is he gonna go against the Chicago Bulls? Is Michael Jordan going to come and play basketball with the Mothman? Okay, I'm gonna go back to being a professional YouTube host now. Sorry about it. So, Evidently, a lot of people saw him. Like, it was something like 50 sightings. Crazy. And everyone, just like when it happened in Point Pleasant, everyone claimed the same exact thing. And evidently, the news didn't really quite break out about it until much later in the game. So just like in Point Pleasant, when you had people who was claiming that they were seeing him, but the police didn't go to the press about it, it's just, again, like really interesting. Very interesting parallels in that. Okay, so I went in and I detailed out a lot of the background as well as the trees. I want to make the moon just a little bit brighter, but I'm going to wait until the end to do that, because what I want to do is I also want to make the snow on the ground kind of match the same tone as the moon. I should have said before that the reason why I wanted to go for a winter scene was because the Mothman was seen at the start of winter and was also seen at the start of winter for the next following year in the 13 months. So I kind of wanted to take around that and, you know, match that tone to the painting. Merry Christmas! It's Mothman! Mothman for Santa 2020! No, just shut up and paint. I know, Lern. Anyway. The stories today are going to be very, very different. Instead, what we're doing is we are actually having a narration of the articles that I found recently to do with Mothman. You know, I thought it would be kind of fun to see the articles that actually hit the news, because not a lot of the time do we see paranormal phenomenon hit newsstands, and it's just pretty interesting to see that in the world. So let's take it to the very first one and see what the world wants us to know about Mothman today.
Our first story is an article titled Man Photographs Creature That Resembles Legendary Mothman of Point Pleasant, brought to us by Eyewitness News, WCHS ABC 8. The article is dated November 21st, 2016. Hunters in Mason County may need to be on the lookout for something other than deer when they hit the woods this week. The Point Pleasant Mothman is a local legend over the years and has gained worldwide fame. There hasn't been any recent sightings of the red-eyed creature, but that changed Sunday evening when a man who says that he was driving along State Route 2 saw something jump from a tree to another. He pulled off the road and snapped some pictures. The man declined an on-camera interview, but was adamant that the pictures had not been doctored. He had recently moved to Point Pleasant for work and didn't know about the legend. In the pictures, the creature appears to have wings with pointed tips and long legs bent in an awkward angle. Point Pleasant locals such as Caroline Harris believes that the picture could be real because there have been so many other sightings over the years. I definitely know the Mothman is real, Harris said. Harris owns the Mothman Diner in Point Pleasant and has owned it for 48 years. She also helped start the Mothman Festival. Harris said that there had been so many sightings of the Mothman for her not to believe it. Some people believe that the Mothman is a bad omen, only appearing when catastrophe is about to strike. There have been many claims to the winged red-eyed creature was seen right before the Point Pleasant Silver Bridge collapse in 1967. Harris has met many Mothman believers over the years who visit her diner. On Monday, Karen and Ralph Smith were patrons at the diner. The couple was traveling from Florida to Pennsylvania, but decided to stop off to Point Pleasant to visit the Mothman Museum. Karen Smith said that she had hoped that she could add herself into the believer category. You have eyewitnesses. It does have the potential to be real. And I want to believe, Smith said. The Smiths said that the Mothman pictures do look real to them. So Eyewitness News asked Jeff Welmsey, the local Mothman expert and owner of the Mothman Museum, what he had to say. Walmsley said, with modern technology, it's almost impossible to know for sure if the pictures are real. Whether the pictures are real or not, the benefit of the legend of the Mothman brings to the town of Point Pleasant a very real phenomenon. It's a good thing. It brings lots of people to the area. He's here to stay, Harris said.
Okay, Okay, so that's actually pretty interesting. And of course, both the articles will be at the bottom of the show description so that you can check them out, see any pictures or video that people have tagged in it, just so you can think what you want to think about what these people allegedly saw. The picture, it looks, I have a hard time believing in pictures and videos of paranormal phenomenon. And I don't think I'm the only one who believes that, because I am a believer of these things. But unfortunately, I can't necessarily believe any picture or any video because of exactly what that guy said who owned the Mothman Museum. Which, what a job. Mom, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna become someone someday. What are you gonna become, son? I'm gonna own the Mothman Museum. You gotta have goals, kids. I don't know, like, I want to believe that this man legitimately found this thing and took a picture of it, because we are living in the days of technology where anybody can find anything on the internet. I don't really know if I can believe it or not. So that kind of stinks. Also, the picture, it does look a little comical in my opinion. Like, he really does look like a Mothman. Like, I feel like this is what, well, okay, right now it looks a little, it looks a little funny right now. What I'm trying to paint is what I think most people believe the Mothman looks like, and I think that the picture doesn't necessarily look like what he's claimed to look like. But I don't know. I guess it's up to your own discretion to figure that out. So, but I do think it's interesting that the gentleman who took the picture claims that he did not know about the legend. There's got to be a little bit of something in there for that. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Go ahead and tell me.
Our second story comes from the article from the Depalia titled, "Has the Fabled Mothman Made Chicago Home?" The article is dated April 30th, 2020. Since 2017, Chicago residents in both the city and the suburbs have reported seeing a large winged creature in the city's skyline. Multiple witnesses describe the creature as being taller than a human being with glowing eyes and bat-like wings. Many had dubbed the mystery creature the Chicago Mothman, due to the similarities with the humanoid made famous in John Keel's 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies. A recent sighting came in November 2019, when a truck driver claimed to have seen the mysterious creature while on the job, picking up a shipment of Nippon at O'Hare International Airport. The witness said that he had a cigarette as the truck was being loaded when he spotted something like a large bird standing at the parking lot fence. He said in this statement, it looked like a person with wings that were stretched out and flapping. Reports like these have been numerous in the past 3 years. In Chicago, there were 55 sightings of a similar winged being in 2017 alone. In a January 2018 article, Vice interviewed an employee of the Logan Square bar, The Owl, who said he spotted the Mothman gliding above the Northwest Side neighborhood one night while working. Bouncer John Amitronano told Vice, "It didn't look like a bat, so much as what an illustration of a pterodactyl looked like. This thing didn't have any features or fur, and it didn't fly like anything I've ever seen." Sightings such as these are not new to Illinois. On July 25th, 1977, a Logan County resident claimed that while watching her children play in the backyard one evening, 2 giant bird-like creatures attacked her family. One of these giant birds, the resident claimed, snatched up her son in its talons and carried him several yards before dropping the child. For many who take the report seriously, spotting the Mothman isn't at all good fun. Largely due to Keel's book, the Mothman is often considered to be a harbinger of doom. Believers in the creature often associate him with the deadly Silver Bridge collapse of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the lives of 46 people were lost to the icy Ohio River on December 15th, 1967. A statue of the Mothman has since been erected in Point Pleasant, a stark and somber reminder for those who believe in his myth. Whether the Mothman is a bringer of misfortune or simply a neutral party trying to warn us of inevitable tragedy is a point of debate among paranormal enthusiasts. If Chicago's newest winged resident is the same Mothman that Keel wrote of, should Chicagoans be worried? I think Chicagoans worry a lot anyway, said DePaul professor Tricia Hermes, who teaches competition and rhetoric with a focus on ghost stories and folklore. We worry about the weather of our sports teams, taxes, and crime. Mothman looks very frightening and foreboding. That would be how I would feel. Theories as to who or what the Mothman really is are as numerous as the reported sightings of him. Some believe him to be an extraterrestrial, while others categorize him as a legendary beast akin to Bigfoot or the Jersey Devil. Often, he is described as an interdimensional traveler or an ultra-terrestrial, with command over space and time, with the ability to jump from one dimension to another, like a car changing lanes. Considering the tensions that are high around the world due to a global pandemic, Hermes believed that spooky legends such as Mothman serve a greater purpose than mere entertainment. The amount of conspiracies springing up from this pandemic are crazy, Hermes says. Some say that this is Mother Earth's way of taking out revenge on humans. I think a belief in the paranormal, like Mothman, could be a kind of shield from even harsher truths of the world. For some, a figure like Mothman could be the perfect scapegoat. A totem some folks would use to direct their fears and frustrations with the current level of chaos in the world. For Hermes, that is the role that the Mothman served in the case of the Silver Bridge collapse. People want to make sense of things. Random violence and accidental death are frightening and something we can't control. We look for meaning in the chaos. Whether you believe the Mothman is real or not, his impact on pop culture and modern mythology is undeniable. Keel's book served as an inspiration for the 2002 film The Mothman Prophecies, starring Richard Gere. Countless other books, blogs, documentaries, all sorts of things have come and gone. The Mothman is even celebrated annually in the town he originally put his mark on, Point Pleasant. Every year, between 10 and 12,000 paranormal lovers come to West Virginia for the Mothman Festival. According to the festival's official website, visitors can enjoy the event for free, where there will be live music, merchandise from various vendors, great food, cosplay, and speakers. However, considering the amount of time Mothman seems to have been spending in the Windy City as of late, it leads one to wonder if the Flying Spectre hasn't chosen to make Chicago his new home. For some of us, that may be bad news, but consider it the positive. In the midst of a global pandemic, who does social distancing better than a mythical creature?
I liked that a lot. I thought that that was really well done and just like really well written and very interesting that there is a recent sighting of Mothman. I know that the Chicago one has been going on for a while. I've heard of it back in 2017 and like it's amazing that even now it's still something that people talk about. You know, what's so cool about the Mothman is that it's such a mystery. Some people think that he's like a product of like biological warfare. Some people think that he's an extraterrestrial. Some people think that he's a curse. Like, he's such a mystery and he's so interesting. And while it's tragic what happened with the Silver Bridge, it still is just mind-boggling how something like that happened for 13 straight months and brought with it all sorts of weird phenomenon to go ahead and couple with it as well. Just overall, I think that Mothman really is an anomaly that if he isn't real, at least he's fun to think about, right? But can we talk about how that one woman from the 70s talked about how two of these strange winged creatures came down and attacked her family? They picked up a child That kid went into the air and then was let go. Also, can we take a minute to imagine what that poor kid probably did when he went to school the next day? Guys, the craziest thing happened to me yesterday. Oh yeah, Jimmy, what's that? Oh my gosh! I was just playing Hungry Hippos out in the front yard, and then all of a sudden this crazy pterodactyl thing came down, grabbed me, hurled me into the air, and then he dropped me. Uh-huh, Jimmy, sure. Yeah, of course. Whatever, man. We're still not inviting you to the sleepover. But it's my own sleepover. Not anymore, dude. Poor child. That's really traumatizing. I want to hear from that guy. Can that person come on down and tell us all about what happened there? Because I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Also, I think it's also really interesting that we kind of talk about how these people that saw a version of Mothman in Chicago, like the gentleman who was the bouncer was talking about how he kind of looked like a pterodactyl, and that's where it kind of lost me. I couldn't really, I can't envision that. Like when I think that the Mothman is like a version of an owl, and I think that my vision is pretty obvious in that. So I hope you agree with me too. But, you know, tell me what you think. I really want to know in the comments what you're thinking about the Mothman, what you're thinking about these articles, and if you think there is some truth to this. And especially if you're somebody who's living in Chicago, can you tell us if anyone that you know have seen it? I want to know everything. You can comment below or you can email me at conjuringcanvases@gmail.com. Well, everyone, that's it. This is our Mothman. He's eeky and creepy, and he's in the snow. Oh, he's a perfect Christmas gift. I love him. I hope you love him too. And thank you so much once again for sharing your time with us here on Conjuring Canvases. Myself and Zed have always been really, really happy to know that people are out there watching, liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. So make sure that you're doing that so you can keep up with all the up and up. Our next episode's topic has already been chosen, but if you have an idea for another spooky entity or another creepy topic, feel free to email us at conjuringcanvases@gmail.com.
Unless it has to do with me, and then I will be personally offended if anyone enters in ghouls as a topic.
Yes, of course, Sad, whatever you say. Finally, remember the rules of conjuring. Never play alone, never play in a graveyard, and always say goodbye. Goodbye, ghosties and ghoulies. Ah, Zed, I still can smell your burps.